Hi everyone, welcome to Talk with Business. I'm Dr. Omar Zahmadi. I'm a senior lecturer in innovation and entrepreneurship within Peter Faber Business School at ACU. Before we begin, it's customary to acknowledge country as we pass through. Today we acknowledge and pay our respects to the First Peoples, the traditional owners and custodians of the lands and waterways. We thank them for their continued custodianship. We acknowledge and celebrate the continuation of a living culture that has a unique role in this region. We acknowledge elders past and present and thank them for their wisdom and guidance as we walk in their footsteps. So I'm joined today by two lovely alumni members who are here to tell us more about their experiences in the workforce once they graduated from ACU. And they are John.
So my name's John Ryan Thomas. I studied a Bachelor of Commerce and a Bachelor of Law. I graduated in 2018, so just last year, and I now work for Microsoft as a Sales Operations Program Manager.
Thanks, John. And Ahmed, please.
Hi, nice to see everyone. My name is Ahmed, and I graduated 2015. I studied Bachelor of Human Resources Management, and my current role is Management Consultant in the area of Strategy and Operations.
Yeah. And Ahmed Higazi, full name.
Higazi,
Ahmed
yeah.
Higazi, Thank you. So first question, we have some question prepared for the panelists, and we hope to take some live questions as well. Some people are watching us live online. So please don't be shy to ask your questions. If we don't have time to answer your questions in our Q&A session, we have our team standing by to provide you with more information and get you in touch with our experts. We also want to let you know that this Q&A will still be viewable on our YouTube page after the event finishes. So you can view it again if you miss anything. So let's get started with our questions. First question for John. John, can you tell us what is a typical day for you at work like?
Cool. So working at a company like Microsoft, a fairly large company, I tend to get in at about 8:30. Being a global company, I typically have a lot of emails coming through the night. So the first thing I tend to do, sit down, get through my email list and build the priorities for the day. I spend my morning working through priorities where I'm not running from meeting to meeting. And then I try to schedule most of my own meetings in the afternoon so that I can really nail the priorities I've given myself in the morning. But as I said, being a large company, it's a lot of meetings and a lot of trying to work with people overseas through different time zones, as it may be in Australia, where we don't quite line up with just about anyone. So it can be fun.
Well, great. Do you travel a lot?
More than I'd like. Enough.
Overseas and...
Yeah. Last year I had 3 or 4 trips. This year I've not had any yet, but I'm about to go over to the US in 2 weeks.
Oh,
Wow,
fantastic.
exciting.
Yeah. And thank you very much, John. Ahmed, as a strategy and operations consultant, what would you say are the top 3 skills that you need in your field? I think this is a very interesting question, especially for
And I expect that you're asking for 3 different skills, but like the one that I can repeat it 3 times is analysis. But have this aside. Then analysis, number 1. Emotional intelligence is very high, and people, they underestimate that in the consulting space. They feel like it's hard emotions and hard feelings, like it's just like statistics and numbers and paperwork and documentation, which is like part of it is that way. But we need to work more on the emotional intelligence and this side, the human side of things, as I graduated from the HR background. So this is my favorite. And the third and really important, but it's not least, the skill could be the contextualization. This is really something really tough. Being like I'm taking you on the other end of the spectrum than John. I work more with the smaller organizations, small to medium boutique organizations. So contextualization is really tough when you have your knowledge to apply it to this industry, and then you go for different size of organization, then completely different time zone, as you just mentioned. So analysis, really important, emotional intelligence, and contextualization.
You raise a very interesting point about analysis, because I mentioned the same thing in my classes to students, that analysis is very important, but
Yeah.
the way you look at the analysis or conceptualize analysis itself is a bit different. So it's more about dealing with business data and market data. Am I correct? Part of it is
Like
that.
the qualitative and quantitative data,
Correct.
yes, it's
Methods
like
and-
it's more like analysis. That what was really great when we started to have this data analytics softwares, and like now we started to have this more qualitative interpretation, and that's where the competitive advantage will be.
Very critical
Be like
skills
then,
now in
yes.
any industry, any business, correct. John, thank you very much.
Thank
Ahmed. John, next question is for you. What was your experience in finding a job after you graduated? I think every human being has a unique story probably.
Yeah,
For sure.
And as we spoke about before all of this started, I was lucky enough to actually be an intern at Microsoft before they then hired me as a graduate and now as a full-time employee. So for me, the job search almost started, dare I say it, a year out from finishing my degree, where I started to look into what fields I was interested in. Having studied law, I had two very different directions I could have gone. I could have gone into the law, or I could have gone down the business path. And I'd always found myself very interested in IT and technology and the way tech can really influence what we do in life.
Correct.
And so I looked around really a year, well and truly a year before I was ready to graduate, at what internships were out there, how I could experience the jobs that were out there without necessarily diving headfirst into it. And so I was lucky enough to get an internship at Microsoft, which is a year-long program.
Amazing.
It really was. It was a great experience, and I spent a year sort of learning about the company and what it was like, the culture, how day-to-day operations of a massive multinational company work, such that when it came to the end of the year, as I was finishing up my studies, Microsoft opened their graduate roles up to the market, and I applied and was lucky enough to get one. And yeah, it was
Well done.
a good experience, but one that I very much started before I was ready to finish uni.
Oh, fantastic. Great to know about it, John. And Ahmed, the next question is again very interesting. What is the biggest myth or misconception about your role or industry?
That's amazing. Like first of all, I would talk on behalf of the clients when they hire the consultant.
Yeah.
They think that like the consultant will come to the office, just open the briefcase. This is my bag. This is the magic stick, and that's it. It's done. It's solved. Yeah. Whether they think like, okay, like we're gonna get everything done in a week. Why? Because we have paid a lot of money. So like consulting sometimes, like as a profession and as a concept, like a lot of misconceptions and myth around this. Like no, it's more like analytics, like a relationship. It's like having an employee or big brother or someone just like having a chat with you. They need to understand so if you give any input that is not really accurate, or any input that you didn't really explain that well, or you didn't present that well as a client, then we may end up in a way that like, no, I didn't have this magic stick. I needed more input with you. So like, yeah, like I think consulting, we started to have more clarification right now, because we started to scale down. We started to have smaller organizations, and a lot of people, they started to read before they hire the consultant. What do you expect from us? How can we help you? How can we contribute? How long it takes? And as well, like they think that all consultants are millionaires, but we're not. So like, yeah, we don't charge big money all the time. So like, yeah. Money and cost of consulting is another myth in this industry.
You raised a very good point, as now customers are more knowledgeable.
Yeah,
They read
they
things,
are.
they follow
They
things
are.
before they make a decision.
They
That's
are.
why there's a very intense competition in any industry, especially customer-oriented industries. Again, I think the next question again goes back to you, Ahmed. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
Wow, it's rewarding because I love it. This is the main thing, all right? Like when you love something, and when you really love to go to work and love to be at work, even like regardless of the timing, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 p.m. So this is something that is really rewarding. But like something that I really love about my job is that I meet people, and different people every day. So in one day, I may have 2 or 3 different meetings in different places, different industries, completely different cohorts. Sometimes the top management, then afternoon you're delivering to the frontline employees, the team members. So like what I really love about my job is that I meet new people every day and every week.
I love it. Wow, beautiful. And John, I think this question's got two parts, and it's very important, probably, definitely for our viewers. What advice would you give someone who is thinking about studying business? Second, do you have any advice on selecting a major?
I think, to be honest, I would join those two questions together.
Definitely interrelated.
When I started studying, I thought I was going to go off and become an accountant. And so I started my degree and I looked at the course outlines and I thought, I'm going to do this accounting unit here, 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 and here, and I will end my degree as an accountant. And in my first year, when we get the experience to sort of do all of the basic units across the different areas of business, I did a marketing unit and happened to have a fabulous lecturer, and I never looked back. It was like that was the epiphany for me of sitting in a classroom going, I am so interested in what I'm hearing. I'm so interested in the assignments that I'm doing. Why would I go back to this other subject that I wasn't enjoying as much when I have the flexibility to follow this path?
Good point.
So my suggestion on when you think about studying business is to keep an open mind. It's not quite an arts degree where it is completely open-ended, but it is a degree where you can have a lot of flexibility as to where you want to end up. Don't pigeonhole yourself like I started to do at the beginning. Experience those units at the beginning and let yourself find something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the best way to find a major.
Yes, that's a good point.
If you go to work every day loving what you do,
Yeah,
it helps.
that's
And it's just as important when you're studying to actually enjoy what you're studying. Otherwise it becomes very monotonous.
Yeah. That's a very good point. You raised the point about flexibility, and I'm actually thankful that, in contrast to old days in the universities, there was only one straight line that you had to take and finish, and all the units. Now there is some flexibility. The architecture of the programs lets you to have dual degrees and have a purpose. There can be a purpose behind it. Someone wants to become an artist and say, maybe I want to sell my paintings in the future. Do I have any skills in the business? If I want to do business with people, how do I handle that? So. Double majors, even triple majors sometimes can be helpful.
Rocket science.
I think we are very grateful to get some questions from online viewers. Peggy Jones, thank you, Peggy, for the question. This question is for both of you guys. Why did you study at the ACU, and what it'd like to be a student there? First, and then John. Yeah, that's a very good question. Thanks, Peggy.
Yeah, back to 2014 when I made the decision. Actually, I came to ACU from TAFE, right? And I studied at TAFE, Human Resources Management. And I think back then the only university that offered like the Bachelor of Human Resources Management as is just specialized course was ACU. And I was as well like considering other businesses courses like business major or something that would give me more exposure to marketing and accounting and finance. But when I came to ACU and as well like I found that they can give me credit for all the studies that I have got before. Like actually I got great credit for all the studies. So like that made me finish quicker. So the other thing that made me like ACU more than other universities, which like I studied somewhere else as well, like, but I mean the environment and at ACU it's kind of more like I'm a person to person. Like I had this relationship with the lecturers and you can at any time easily approach them. Like it wasn't really big classes, massive classes that you cannot
Good
really
point.
like even if you want to talk to the lecturer, you'll stay in a line for 15-20 minutes. But like yeah, the class size, well, like the environment very relaxing considering. So like I really loved to study at SU. Like I really loved it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ahmed. And John, please.
For me, it was very much the law school. When I started, it was the first year of the law school. It was a very small law school, and to be honest, it hasn't grown a huge amount in terms of the number of students it intakes each year. So the class sizes were always a manageable amount. I knew my lecturer's name, they knew my name. in my first year, the head of the law school at the time was one of my tutors. And there was just this general sense of community amongst the cohort that I felt like I wasn't going to get if I'd gone to another much bigger university. I remember sitting in an open day at Sydney Uni, and I'm in this huge lecture theatre, and the little lecturer's standing down the front, and I thought, if I am in a theatre this size every week, and I never actually get to talk to the person teaching me, why would I not just do this online? And I was lucky enough to come to ACU in a great cohort of students where it was personable. I was able to talk to my lecturers. It was a great environment.
Fantastic. You both guys raised very interesting points about the size of the class and flexibility of the program. This is very important. The amount of time that you can, that individual lecturer can spend with each individual student is very important. So the size of the class is a determining factor, especially now moving on to the workshop-based models that is full of interaction. It's not all about one side speaking for 2 hours and everybody are looking at the screen. More flexibility, more activities in the class. That is an important point. We got another question raised. This is an important point. Thank you, Tim, one of our live viewers. There was one question asked from Ahmed about the 3 critical skills in your industry, and our viewer asked that maybe ask the same question from John, because it's an important question actually.
Put me on the spot now. I have to think of 3 skills that I have. I think the first one that you also brought up, I think, is EQ. Emotional intelligence is...
Thank you.
Like, I'm in an operations role, which a lot of people would think of as very back office, don't deal with many people, but I spend my life going between meetings, and if I don't have those emotional skills to work with other people day in, day out, it'd be a very different environment. The other skill, which, believe it or not, I think I learned a lot through law school, was how to write, and especially now in my professional career, how to write an email.
Very important.
I can get 2 very different emails depending on who is sending them to me, and it makes a big difference as to how I get to interact with someone based on what I'm sent. And I think the third one, not necessarily a skill, but is to do your best to stay open-minded. Especially in my day-to-day job, I can't pigeonhole myself into a particular role.
Correct.
Any given day could be a completely different set of tasks. It could be a completely different set of problems, and I need to constantly be open to the different tasks that come my way, because each of them can be very much an opportunity for me to show what I'm good at. So that's what I would say, Tim.
And thanks again, Tim, for this important point that you raised. And thank you, John. You mentioned about one of the most critical skills that usually people ignore, which is writing skills in business. Have to be very precise, concise, straight to the point, because the recipients usually don't have enough time to read a very long story. That's a good point. And Tim is super active. He has sent us another question. Thank you, Tim. And it's a very interesting question for Ahmed. What was it like coming across to uni from TAFE? Because we got a large group of people who make a decision too. So was it hard?
Like, I wouldn't say it's hard. It was just a bit different. Like with TAFE was more kind of, I would say you follow the templates, because it's more like operational. So this is how it works. It's like hands-on. So like, please, this is a sample, like you can do. Of course, like there is always space for innovation. But to come to university, and like, I cannot say if it's any university or just ACU, but like I would say a lot of readings required, a lot of referencing, analysis and insights. You need to read and not to copy, which like I used to do that a long time ago. You copy the citation and just like have it in the essay, and you don't know like how this is relevant. So you need to have more insights, and you need to have more analytical skills and justification, and explain why this is relevant to what you need to justify. With TAFE, it was very straightforward. Like, this is a template. We need to have these steps. This is the report subheadings. So you follow it. That was like with TAFE was more bit simple, but with university, yeah, of course,
Took it
it's
to
an
the next
upgrade.
level for
It's
you.
an upgrade. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is, it
fantastic.
is.
Yeah, yeah, great to hear that. There is an interesting question for both of you. I think to some extent you mentioned some points about double degree. Sorry, it's only John who did double degree here. Am I
Yeah, like
correct?
I just
Only
got
John.
it.
Yeah. So John, you chose to study a double degree. Why did you choose to do this? Maybe you can elaborate a bit more.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's very interesting, actually. So
I guess this was probably more the career-focused part of me when I started picking the degrees I was interested in at uni. I saw doing law as the certain option. If I study law, I end up at the end as a lawyer.
yeah.
And business was the fun side. It was the side where I got to choose my subjects. I got to pick a different path. So when I was looking at my options, I was looking at a degree where I could come out at the end and say I am a lawyer, but I still wanted the flexibility to do other things. And I think if I'd done straight law, it would have been a much more boring 5 years at uni. It would have only been 4 years. Whereas adding on the business added a lot of interest to it. It was a bit more exciting.
Great, great. Okay, thanks so much to everyone for joining us. This session will exist on the ICU YouTube page after we're finished, so you can watch it again if you missed anything the first time around. If we didn't get a chance to answer your question, or you would like to speak with someone further, please feel free to reach out to us via Ask ICU. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, online viewers, for your time.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.